All right. Thank you all for joining us. Like I said, on this amazing day here at Bridging Voice. Today is August 20th, 2024, and we are here to talk about scleral lenses. So thank you for joining us. See something, say something, scleral lenses. My name is Trinity. I am one of our speech pathologists and also kind of heads up our education. And today, Nachum is going to be taking over for us. If you are here for your continuing education or professional development hours, please remember I need you to stay all the way to the very end, and then I will be giving you a code. Um, please feel free to join us at whatever level is best for you, whether it is with your camera on or camera off. If you can mute yourself, that would be wonderful so that we don't get everyone talking while Nakam is trying to talk. We would appreciate it. And let's get started, shall we? All right. For those of you who don't know who we are a small and mighty team of 6 speech pathologists, occupational therapists, 2 computer programmers, one of them being Nachum, and then our amazing leader, Krina, who has joined us as well today. We have assisted over 2,800 people with ALS in 49 states and in 21 countries. And that number is always, always, always going up. We specialize in customizations and innovations. This one happened to be one of them, mentorship and education. So we're glad that you have joined us today. And most important thing on this slide I need you to know is our
You
services
want to
are
share your
always
screen, Trinity?
free. Oh, I forgot about that part. I was just rambling on, just thinking, look at all of this, but I forgot to show the most important part. All right, how's that? So here's everything that I was telling you guys about us being wonderful, but now you get to see it in person. All right, so let me pass it on here. I'm going to pass it on to Nachum.
Okay. That was quicker than I expected. Okay.
Oh, I'm getting good at this, Nachum.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Very nice to be here. So today we're going to be discussing scleral lenses. This is a little bit of a specific topic, but it's an extremely important one. And it is a continuation of the topic we started when Trinity gave an awesome presentation a couple of weeks ago on eye health and dry eye. And this is really a continuation of that, but it does live on its own as well. So we're going to review just a couple of the things that we need to review to make this continuation smooth. So when it comes to eye health and dry eye, scleral lenses is a way of taking this to, to a new level. And if Trinity, if you can actually give everyone the link to the previous eye health presentation, that one is the beginning of this. Extremely important information there about general eye health and very specifically about dry eye, its impact, and some of the solutions for dry eye. But again, we will be reviewing some of that today. And today we're going to be really focusing on the scleral lens impact and how that can resolve a dry eye issue. Next slide, please. So, symptoms of dry eye. Normally, if someone has dry eye, you may notice they have redness in the eye, they may have stinging in their eye, and they may be very sensitive to light. And interestingly, one of the major symptoms of dry eye is actually when someone's eyes are watery, mucus, blurry vision. But to us, the main reason we're here today is because of something which is, you may not notice in the eye. Someone's eyes may look perfectly healthy, yet they have extreme difficulty accessing their eye gaze communication device. And very often that is due to dry eye. So this is what we're here to discuss today. It may be completely asymptomatic. You don't see anything wrong with the eye, yet dry eye is what's causing the issue. And the reason this issue happens is because eye trackers need to need the moisture in the eye to create a sparkle in the eye, which the eye trackers track. And if there isn't enough moisture in the eye, that sparkle won't be visible to the eye tracker. So this is the most important thing we have to discuss today, how we're going to address this dry eye issue. Next slide, please. What causes dry eye? Now, obviously, you want to see the previous presentation because Trinity goes into it in depth, but we're just going to go over some of the more common reasons, causes of dry eye. By most people, it's just because it runs in the family. There's a genetic thing that people have dry eye, and it's chronic dry eye. Their history of eye surgery is also another major factor. LASIK surgery, cataract surgery, people who have gone through any procedure on their eye may experience dry eye afterwards. Allergy medications. Remember, dry eye is because there isn't enough moisture in the eye. Allergy meds are designed to reduce the moisture in the eye, so they cause dry eye as well. Other medications, specifically ones that many of the ALS patients take, such as saliva-reducing meds or secretion-reducing meds, they too are designed to reduce moisture in the body, and they cause dry eye. Artificial ventilation, someone who is on a vent, whether that's through a trach or an NIV mask, a non-invasive ventilation method, both of these cause dry eye. Aside from just in general artificial ventilation causing dry eye, the NIV mask has another reason that it causes dry eye, as you can see here in the picture, because very often there's the seal over the nose is not tight enough and the air is blowing through the top of the mask right at the person's eyes. So that's another cause to dry out the eye because of the mask. Another very common reason by ALS patients that they experience dry eye is because there are changes to their blink. Some ALS patients can't blink at all. Sometimes their blink, they can't close their eye all the way. And sometimes just the use of an eye tracking device causes someone to focus so much so that they're blinking less frequently. Another factor in dry eye and causing them to the moisture not to be there. Next slide, please. So where do we see dry eye when we're looking at someone's eye tracking device and we're looking at someone who's trying to use it and we want to figure out if dry eye is a factor here? So we have a few ways. Number one, there's a track status. In every eye tracking device, there is a track status, a very simple indicator to show if the eye tracking device sees your eyes or not. On the left side and the bottom, you can see the Tobii track status indicator, and on the right side is the track status indicator from SmartBox. The one on the left, if you see two rock solid eyes over there in the window, and that little arrow over here on the right side is steady, that's usually an indication of nice moist eyes and the eye tracker is picking up the eyes well. But if those eyes are flickering there and the person's eyes are wide open and they're not moving, yet the eyes are flickering there, often enough that is a strong indication of dry eye. There may be other reasons, but that's definitely your first check. Another indication is this arrow on the right side, which is the distance indicator to tell us if the patient is the right distance from the eye tracker. If that indicator is moving up and down, as if the person is moving forward and back, yet the person is sitting still, that is another indication of dry eye. On the right side, you would see it as if the person's face is coming in and out, and the color would be changing from green to red. And if the person is sitting still and it looks like they're going forward and back, that is another indication of dry eye, just in the other systems. One of the other indications we see is if someone is trying to type on a keyboard and they're consistently choosing the wrong targets and their calibrations are very good, they're getting green calibrations in a Tobii device or high scores on a SmartBox device, and they're having a lot of difficulty choosing their targets on the keyboard, again, that may be an indication of dry eye. So what do we do if this is happening and we have strong indications of dry eye? Next slide, please. The first thing, most important thing to try first are preservative-free artificial tears eye drops. This is so, so crucial. And it's something that I'd heard it for many, many years, and I wasn't convinced about it until we started Bridging Voice and we started realizing that this is just the most common thing causing issues by eye tracking across the globe. And it's so simple to test. You get some preservative-free artificial tears, and the preservative-free ones are extremely important because you're not supposed to take eye drops that have preservatives in them more than 3 or 4 times a day. And artificial tears are something that we should be taking. An ALS patient who's trying to use an eye tracker should be getting them around once an hour at least, sometimes much more than that. So that's why it's really important that they be preservative-free. And the preservative-free ones come in these little vials that are disposable that you're only supposed to use for that day. So you try some of these artificial tears, and generally speaking, if someone is having trouble targeting keys, specific keys on their keyboard, and they administer some artificial tears, you should be able to see some difference immediately. In many cases, you'll see a significant difference. In our previous presentation, we actually showed a video of someone who was unable to get most of the keys across the middle row of a keyboard. They gave him some eye drops, and then he was able to get every one of those targets perfectly. So eye drops are by all means the first stop. And what's really important about this is that scleral lenses, which we're going to be discussing soon, is just a more fancy way of administering artificial tears. So you need to know before you talk about scleral lenses, do artificial tears actually help you? If they help you, and it's just that you don't want to be getting artificial tears every 10 minutes throughout the day, then that's when we need to discuss scleral lenses. But you certainly need to first try artificial tears, and then we see what the next steps may be. Next slide, please. So what are scleral lenses? They are, on the right side here, you have a picture of a regular contact lens, and you can see there the small size of a contact lens. On the left side is a scleral lens. Now, the fancy word scleral really just refers to the sclera of the eye, which is the white of the eye. A scleral lens doesn't just cover the pupil, it covers much of the white of the eye as well. And what's extremely special about scleral lenses, next slide please, is that the scleral lenses have space for you to put in there a reservoir of artificial tears. So what happens is that you put these scleral lenses on in the morning, you fill them up with artificial tears, and throughout the day, your eye is protected, physically protected by the lens. There's also a pool, a reservoir of artificial tears that are lubricating your eye throughout the entire day, as if you're getting artificial tears every minute. Here's a nice graphic to show exactly how this looks on the eye. You see how the scleral lens is covering a bunch of the white of the eye, which is called the sclera. And here, this yellow line that's in between the cornea and the scleral lens, which is this blue line on top, that's where the reservoir of artificial tears are, and that's what's lubricating your eye throughout the day. This is an absolute miracle, the scleral lens. Let's go to the next slide, please, because it's a way to administer eye drops throughout the day without having to do it. There will be some limitations. We're going to discuss that later on. And we do have we have a video of someone who's a big proponent of scleral lenses, and he's actually on this call for any Q&A you may have at the end of the call. So the scleral lenses do a bunch of things. Number one, they provide hydration to the surface of the eye throughout the day. Super, super important. They also are made to be like a regular contact lens. They correct the vision, which also helps with eye tracking, so you don't have all of those variables of thick lenses, the wrong types of lenses, the frames interfering with the eye tracking. So you get corrected vision through these lenses, and it will assist in eye tracking accuracy to begin with. They aid in healing. People who are experiencing dry eye, especially if it's a chronic condition, it's likely that they've already experienced some corneal damage. And just the constant hydration of the eye, the physical protection of the eye, will aid in healing any of that corneal damage. They protect the eye, physically protect the eye from dust and dirt that may get into someone's eye. So even though someone may not be able to blink, here is a nice physical layer of protection right in front of their eye. In some cases, and this may be more commonly found with the medical model of scleral lenses, which we may have a chance to discuss, maybe not during this presentation, but some scleral lenses are able to be made thick enough so that they can prop open the eye, so that someone who has droopy eyelids, which is called ptosis, their eye will be propped open by the thickness of the scleral lens. And that's another amazing miracle for people with ALS. If they can't keep their eyes open, they can get a scleral lens that will keep their eye open, keep their eye protected, and keep their eye lubricated throughout the day. Next slide, please. Now, this is the protective power of the scleral lens. This is someone who was getting eye drops administered every 10 minutes throughout the day because his eyes were constantly red, constantly infected, constantly stinging, and there was mucus in his eyes. He got scleral lenses, and you can even see there where the scleral lens ends in the white of his eyes, right about over here. His eyes became so healthy. He was able to track, using his eye tracker, 12 hours a day without getting any eye drops administered. So this is the amazing miracle of scleral lenses. Next slide, please. We have here, I'm gonna just introduce the video, and Gary is with us on this call, like I said before, to answer any questions. But Gary was going through a lot, and he got scleral lenses. And let me not take away anything from Gary. Let's just let Gary, in his own words, explain the miraculous results he's seen from scleral lenses.
Hi, my name is Gary Godfrey. A few years back, I had trouble blinking my right eye, which made calibrating and controlling my Tobii Dynavox difficult. We tried many different calibration methods, like using eye drops, calibrating with one eye, etc. But nothing worked for me. My inability to blink got so bad that I used eye drops every 30 minutes because my right eye was getting so dry. As a result, my ability to control Toby was tricky. I have been working with my eye doctor, Dr. Steve Hamilton, for some time. Steve is a great friend of mine and a fraternity brother. Oh, the stories I could tell about Steve. But I will refrain because Steve could tell many more stories about me. Steve had always suggested using scleral lenses for my dry eyes. However, I was content with the corrected glasses and was hesitant to try something new. The idea of contact lenses was foreign to me, and I didn't want to burden my caregivers or my wife, Carol, with the daily task of putting them in and taking them out. However, after thorough research and a recommendation from Kevin and Julie McCracken, we decided to explore scleral lenses as a potential solution. Fast forward to Christmas of 2022. My dry eye and calibration issues were getting so bad that I thought I could no longer communicate or use my eye gaze computer. I was desperate to find a better solution. I decided to try the scleral lenses Dr. Hamilton had been recommending for a long time. Once I got them fitted to my eyes, they have been a game changer. Now I don't have to calibrate with one eye anymore. I don't have to use eye drops every 30 minutes and can see clearly, except for the occasional bubble in my eyes. Carol and my caregivers have figured out a method of putting the lenses into my eyes, and you don't have to be completely bent over to do it, which is not possible for someone with ALS. I can't stress enough how much scleral lenses have transformed my life. I'm not sure why they're not more widely known or used in the ALS community, but I would wholeheartedly recommend them to anyone facing similar challenges. I am immensely grateful to Dr. Steve Hamilton and Nakam Lehman of Bridging Voice for their unwavering support and encouragement in my journey with scleral lenses. They have indeed been a game changer for me.
Okay. Now, just to interject for a minute, in case you loved Gary's voice and how that sounded so natural, that's that other announcement about being able to get a free pro subscription to 11 Lambs Voices, in case any of you are interested in that. But again, look at our website to hear about that announcement that just happened today. Very, very exciting. But it's kind of hard to explain the benefits of scleral lenses better than Gary did. It's just been such a transformation, and Gary articulates it so well. So that's just amazing. So let's just go over a couple of the limitations. Number one, there is a cost involved with scleral lenses. Sometimes there is insurance funding available, most of the time not. Regular insurances don't typically cover scleral lenses. There are some chronic dry eye diagnoses which insurances will fund a scleral lens for that. But that is a limitation. I think generally speaking, scleral lenses cost between $1,000 and $2,000 to be able to get them. So there is a significant cost involved. There are some grants available, and the VA does cover it, that we know. Locating a medical lens provider is another limitation. Scleral lens providers are all over the country. There are many websites that will allow you to find someone local to you. Not every scleral lens provider, though, will work with an ALS patient. It's just that I think some of them are scared working in that environment, especially working with an ALS patient who's so dependent on their eyes. But so we have had people who have been turned down by certain providers, but locating a provider near you is definitely, I'm not going to call it a challenge, but it's a task, and you have to find the right person near you.
It's a huge
Attending multiple fitting appointments. Depending on the provider you've identified, some providers will do it in 1 or 2 sessions, the fitting, because they do have to fit the lens to your eyes. So it's usually 2 visits that are required. Some can do it in less, some do it in many more. So that's another factor in deciding which provider to go to, how many appointments will be required. And not everyone is able to travel to all of these appointments. So, and we have not found a provider that will do a home fitting. So that's a concern. One of the biggest limitations of scleral lenses, it's not a limitation, but it does require a little bit of training and practice to insert the scleral lenses. They're not exactly like regular contact lenses. Let's show the next slide, please. Scleral lenses require a little plunger that holds on. You could see this in Dr. Louie's hand over here. This is Dr. Louie by the first visit with this patient, and he is holding a plunger in his hand that's holding onto the scleral lens. The way, and Gary, by the way, has a video showing how they insert his scleral lens, which we'll send a link to that video. But basically, the ALS patient has to be upright, not leaning over, because like Gary said, that would be impossible, but upright, straight, and the person who is inserting the scleral lens will have the scleral lens on this plunger, and they'll put the artificial tears in the lens. And don't forget, it's just a liquid. So that liquid has to stay in the lens until you get it into the eye. So by having the person straight, their eye is basically straight, and they're able to get the lens to the bottom of the eye and then put it in like that, so that the artificial tears stay in the lens while the lens is being inserted into the eye. I'm sure everyone will have many questions about this process, and that's what Gary is here for, to help us with. Plus, Gary's video is extremely helpful because they go into great detail in explaining how they do this without the artificial tears spilling out. This is probably the biggest challenge, but we've seen many times where the caregivers are able to learn how to do this, and it does save the caregivers the work and task of administering artificial tears throughout the day. So there is a gain here, but it does require some training. Next slide, please. So now we've prepared for you a document which you can take to your physician or to your neurologist or to your clinic, which starts the conversation about scleral lenses. The problem with scleral lenses is that people just don't know enough about it. It's not that anyone has missed the boat here. It's just not popular enough in the ALS world. In the optometrists, ophthalmologists all know about scleral lenses. But in the ALS clinics, the neurologists, there just hasn't been enough exposure to scleral lenses for them to know about this miraculous solution for, taking care of dry eye for eye tracking users. So we've prepared for you a one-pager, which you can go and bring to your physician to give them the quick scoop about scleral lenses, what they do, how they work, and this will start the conversation. Once they start Googling around and learning more about it, they'll realize that there is a scleral lens provider within a stone's throw of almost everyone in the country. So it is an amazingly available solution, and we hope that we're giving you enough tools to be able to get this conversation started. Next slide, please.
Have you heard about Optisols? These are the cutting edge orthodontals that people look forward to.
Sorry. So Number one, the dry eye needs to be addressed to ensure success with eye tracking. It always has to be addressed. And so many of the veterans in the eye tracking landscape have been saying this for upwards of 30 years, that dry eye is the main reason why people are unsuccessful with their eye tracking and are not getting the accuracy they need to be able to be successful. And again, artificial tears are the first stop. Try them. Try them for a couple of days in a row and see if they make a difference. Probably 80% of the time, people will notice a significant difference just by administering the artificial tears. If the artificial tears are not doing enough, or maybe you don't have the caregivers that are capable of doing artificial tears every 15 or 20 minutes, then maybe you want to start having the conversation about scleral lenses and see if they will be your answer to maintaining good hydration in your eyes throughout the day. I think that's it, right? Trinity.
That's it. That's it for your magic. Now I get to take back over again. So again, remember that Nachum is referring to the presentation that I gave uh, just last month. That is on our YouTube website. And remember, you can always find our trainings there if you need to go back. We will be sharing with you the Scleral information sheet for you to be able to take with you to your physician. You will get a copy of that in our our after presentation email. Our after presentation email this year, or this time, will be it'll be a couple week wait for that. So just so I want everyone to know ahead of time that there will be a little bit delay in getting that back to you. But we're going to take a quick pause from scleral lenses. We will come back to it. I want to talk about our upcoming training. We have 2 trainings coming up. In September, it's preparing for success, what to expect in a communication evaluation for ALS patients. Now, that is from the user point of view. So the PALS, what you should expect to have happen during your evaluation. And then also great for the speech pathologist as well, just to make sure that you are all caught up on what is kind of the best practices for making sure that we are providing support to our clients robustly. In November, we are actually going to have a special presentation. It is Every Word Matters, an update on voice preservation strategies and their use within communication apps and software. That's going to be a joint presentation actually between Bridging Voice and ALS of Michigan. So that's going to be wonderful. And I can't say this enough, all of our presentations, all of the ones that Nachum shared, as well as all the ones going forward, are on YouTube. So please consider signing up and subscribing to us so that you get those notifications as well. All right. So professional development attestation, I am going to drop the link for you right now that you need to go online and fill that out. If you are, I would love for you, of course, to stay all the way through our question and answer, because there is always some amazing things that come up with that. I'm going to go ahead and drop the attendance link there for professionals. So at this time, I am going to stop my screen share, and let's get into question and answer. Please feel free to join at whatever level that you feel comfortable. You are welcome to turn on your cameras. You're welcome to turn on your microphones and ask questions. You are also welcome to put any questions that you may have into the chat. Gary has graciously offered to answer questions, and as you can see, he's using a communication device, so he does need a little bit of a time to respond. So we will be pausing to make sure that we keep Gary into the conversation as well. So at this time, I am going to open it up if anybody has any questions or thoughts. John has already raised his hand. John, you are up. You are welcome to turn your camera on or anything like that. looks like you are, oh, John, you're going to screen share with us? Now stop sharing and come back. That's okay.
Okay, someone has a question. My pals is currently using sustained hydration every hour. I think they are more viscous than artificial tears. So would scleral lenses work? Would you recommend I try artificial tears to see if they work? Scleral lenses, the reason why most people use the viscous artificial tears is just so that they don't dry out as quickly. So if someone would have scleral lenses, even if they're using the less viscous artificial tears, it should accomplish the same thing without having to administer them the whole day. So I think that would be the viscous drops are just another way of trying to get those drops to stay in the eye longer.
We use John Knockham, it's Carol, Gary's wife. We use the sustained hydration free, and they work perfectly with the scleral lenses. We also use those prior to when Gary got scleral lenses.
Oh, and you use them in the scleral lenses?
We do. We use sustained hydration free in the scleral lenses. Yes.
Okay,
sir.
perfect. Okay. And I guess that makes it easier. They don't drip out as quickly because they're more viscous.
They just always what we've used. It's just I can't. There's that's what Gary's eye doctor suggested, and that's what we've always used.
Awesome. Okay.
Our other client that we actually showed using the scleral lenses, he as well uses a combination of the artificial tears as well as the more viscous solution in his lenses is also. Okay. Sue just put into the chat window, just there isn't a way to copy and paste the links. And Abby found it looks like Zoom has changed that. I would like you can click on it to open it in another browser and be able to save it that way. But I also want everyone to know that everyone is receiving the link that we shared in your after visit email. And then all of the links as well are on our YouTube page. So you can go to any one of our presentations and see all the links that were provided as well. So you have multiple options to get those.
John asked the question 1 to 2K per year. So it's not per year, it's per lenses. And I think that Dr. Louie had told us, and maybe Gary has more information. I think that the lenses last 1 to 2 years. I think that's the typical. So I guess it would be about that amount every couple of years.
We did, one of our clients did have some issues with the lens, in that when a caregiver was putting the suction on a little too hard and it caused the lens to crack, and so they did need to replace them. But again, considering looking to help you pay for them, considering looking at grants, actually with the scleral lens companies is one option. Also considering some of those grants that come from the different ALS chapters as a way to help you pay for lenses as well is another option. John asks,
go ahead. Do they
oh, yeah,
make
go
them
ahead.
for extended wear? I assume you mean to wear them straight through the night, and Dr. Louie told us that they don't. These are hard lenses, and I guess they're thicker. For some reason, they are not made. I think this was asked specifically to Dr. Louie, who is an optometrist in the Casey Eye Institute in Oregon, introduced to us through Trinity, and he has actually worked with a few of our ALS patients and has really gotten this jump started. So this has been amazing.
But in terms of hours per day, so the gentleman that you saw that we used the picture of to show the power of scleral lenses, he wears his lenses for like 13 hours a day or so. So once his caregivers, get his morning routine going, they get his scleral lenses in, he's up, he's at his communication device, and he doesn't take them out then until he's ready to transition back to bed. and change his interaction with his communication device.
And Gary, we should ask Gary, how long does Gary keep his lenses in?
Gary wears his all the time except for when he's asleep. So he will wear them probably close to 17, 18 hours a day.
Okay, it's a good thing you didn't say like 26 hours a day.
All right. Can you share where these patients live? We are in Northern California. My husband has Kaiser Healthcare, wondering if they are even available. So we have clients all over the place. What we were discussing earlier, Dr. Louie at the KCI Institute is actually at OHSU, which is here in Portland. I'm not sure kind of where that would work for you, but without a doubt, you can talk to your Kaiser healthcare professional. The biggest thing you want to just talk about and being able to look at is you're looking for a medical lens provider. That is oftentimes a good way for you to get connected to somebody who deals with scleral lenses. So asking, within your Kaiser system, to see a physician to address that.
And there is a website, if you type in Google, find scleral lens provider, a website comes up where you can put in your zip code and you'll be able to find providers near you. They don't have everyone though, because we did find a number of providers that weren't there, but they usually come up in populated areas. They come up with a number of options. And by the way, and Gary, I know he doesn't mind. He's in Georgia, in case that was important. In case you go for vacations in Georgia, so there are some good providers over there.
Question is, do we have a list of providers that handle scleral lenses for ALS?
I love it when I answer them before the questions come out. So
the answer is no.
No, but we have this scleral lens. Scleral, let's put it into the chat.
Yep.
It's sclerallens.org. And over there, they have a link to find a specialist based on your location. And we've used it a couple of times. But again,
I do think,
even if they don't have someone near you, that does not mean that you don't have a scleral lens provider across the street from you, okay? Just be aware.
But I do love this idea of as we're hearing more and more success stories with people being able to, find providers that worked well with them, especially because they have ALS, it would be great if we kind of created this resource list of just, of known providers.
Right. So far we've got 2.
No, we've got another one. There's one in Chicago too.
Oh, we have, oh, really? Oh, we do.
Yeah,
okay.
Georgia, Chicago, Portland, and then
we're working on one in the South, but okay.
Nahum, would
Yes.
asking, sorry, this is Karina. Would asking your optometrist or ophthalmologist be another way to try and find? Because are the providers usually
Right. Sometimes it's interesting that in the last bunch of cases, they've told a few of our patients that they did not have experience with scleral lenses. So they didn't know of anyone. It's interesting that there's this break of information, but it definitely pays to ask, your optometrist or ophthalmologist, because if they know someone, then at least you'll be getting a really good recommendation.
So the 3 suggestions we have to people on the call is look at the sclerallens.org website and see if they have a provider near you. Talk to your ophthalmologist and ask if they know a provider who offers this. And then we will start compiling stories as we hear of more and more people getting them in their area in our network and make sure to share that.
Right.
Carol, can I add a little additional? a lot of people will tell you that they're worried about the fact that you can't get these lenses into your patient's eyes because they're used to supplying them with people who bend over and put them in the eye. Don't let that be the thing that stops you at all. I've heard that several people have been told, oh, you shouldn't get them because you can't put them in an eye. Well, they just have never tried. So don't let that be what stops you from getting your patient back to communicating.
Okay, this is, okay,
So let's
John
start.
asked, do you
Yeah,
have a
let's start
list
with
of
John.
grants for scleral lenses? I don't think we have a list of that yet. You
So
have,
we do not, John. One of our clients did get a grant actually through the Scleral Lens company. His physician helped him to be able to do that. That's number one. Number two is checking with your local ALS chapter, whether it be ALS Association or ALS United. They oftentimes have grants available to people. You could use your grant money for that. And then number three, there are national-based ALS nonprofits that do have grants available to help cover costs that you could consider using that. If you wanted to talk further about that, you could make a visit with one of our team members and we could share those national grants to be able to share with you for those. So national grants, ALS chapter, and then actually through the lens company. So what we found, Nakam, with a couple of our clients was that the actual visit to go see the eye doctor was covered by their insurance. It was just the scleral lens piece that wasn't covered by their insurance. So please don't let that be a blocking point for you to even go see an eye doctor to have a conversation.
especially because the eye doctor will be able to diagnose dry eye with one look in your eye. If there's corneal damage, for instance, they'll see that instantly. So that's like a really important thing because that's like one of the things they can diagnose really quickly.
All right, Emily says, do you know what is being done to educate medical professionals for scleral lenses to not be concerned or afraid of working with people with ALS? So we're doing our best. We are
And
we are we are talking far and wide about this and presenting at a lot of different presentation or different conferences that touch on ALS and MND throughout the country to really try to spread this far, far and wide. We also have Dr. Louie, who is helping to champion this as well and has been sharing about the impact on these lenses within ALS at some of his, conferences going to, talking with the VA. The VA has now started to look at this as a treatment option, talking with physicians all across the country through some roundtables that we're hosting. We are really trying to shout this from the rooftops, but I can't tell you how much in terms of grassroots of advocacy within the ALS and the PALS community is really important because doctors oftentimes get a lot of information and messages coming at them. So the best way for us to get this out is start telling each other, start telling other pals, start telling other clinicians, and get this out from the ground up.
and Gary and Carol will talk to anybody for you. They'll just they'll be shouting. So but you have to realize that there are literally thousands of scleral lens providers out there. They're optometrists with a specialty in scleral lenses. So it's a pretty big task to get this out there the way it needs to get out. It's probably going to happen just more quickly by each ALS patient addressing it with the optometrist they're working with. And, over time, hopefully this will make the rounds.
Susie, you had said, I was told to ask Team Gleason. My husband is having a lot of trouble using eye gaze, burning, itching. He has to close his eyes much of the day. Susie, we would love to have a visit. If you're already not one of our clients, we would love to have a visit. Please consider contacting us, info@bridgingvoice.org. Reach out to us. We would love to have a session so that we can talk to you and work specifically to see what we can do to assist your husband, without a doubt. Corey, you mentioned that they can correct vision. Did you mean like prescription lenses? Yes. So they can either be without prescription so that they're just truly protecting the surface of the eye, and hydrate and providing that hydration, or they can be prescription, like Nachum was speaking about, kind of those higher level of lenses.
And Gary's were, he was able to no longer wear his glasses. Now he just uses his contacts, and they've been tuned to where they are appropriate to his Tobii device. So they're very, very perfectly calibrated to his Tobii device, and that helps him in all of his communication.
Carol, that's an absolutely great point too. Focal distance for oftentimes, glasses are set to, to a handheld, holding a book in front of you versus where you need to be for a communication device. Those are definitely different distances. So having that conversation about here's how far my communication device is from my face is a fabulous point to bring up. Thank you, Carol, for that.
Let me take that next question. Okay. I apologize if you mentioned this earlier, but how long have you been aware of these lenses, and how many pals do you know of using them? So there's such an interesting history to this. We actually have known about this for over 10 years, but the first ALS patients that got them, when we first became aware of them, were unsuccessful using their eye tracker with those scleral lenses. So, and that was 2 separate patients. And what happened was, about 4 years ago, we decided that scleral lenses are such an important part of eye tracking. We decided to engage with Boston Sight, which is a manufacturer of very high-end scleral lenses. And we asked them if we could do some testing with eye tracking with their scleral lenses. And they were so happy to be part of this. We sent them an eye tracking device, and they had their employees put in scleral lenses with the artificial tears to see if it would work with eye tracking. And every single one of those tests were 100% successful. All of those employees were getting super green calibrations on their eye tracking equipment. And that had totally dismissed all of our thoughts that maybe the lenses or the artificial tears block the eye tracker from seeing the eye well. And once we learned that, we started asking around to see if there were any ALS patients that would want to actually try scleral lenses. And that's when Trinity suggested speaking to Dr. Louie, who did his first patient almost immediately after that, and it was successful. So far we have, I think we have 5 patients who have been successful with scleral lenses. So that is 5 for 5, okay? That's 100% success rate at the moment. So now listen, we don't know, are we gonna stick with that, success rate, but that's pretty good. Sort of like you couldn't hope for more at this point in our testing. I don't think they don't have bifocal lenses in scleral lenses because the eye is always moving with the lens completely, so it's always going to be in the same place. So they don't have that. What people do is, for someone who needs that, they will make the lens one prescription, and then the person can wear either just bifocals, or they can wear even a lens that's progressives. That's going to do a doozy on the eye tracking. I don't think we've ever tried it out, but that's what they do for people who require scleral lenses and different prescriptions for different for near or far vision.
The long-term plan for Gary was originally to make sure that the scleral lenses worked well for his eye gaze computer, because that's what he wants the most of. And then he was to have additional glasses that he could put on when he wanted to, say, look at the football field or something, or the basketball field, when he needed long distance. He hasn't needed that. He's actually done quite well with the scleral lenses as they are, and he hasn't needed the additional glasses. So that was our way to go about it, to begin with. The other thing I would say is someone mentioned the fact that their pals is having intense eye pain and things like that. Gary still has the issue with his eye not closing at night, and we actually tape his eye shut at night to keep it from drying out at night. So just his right eye doesn't shut all the way. It's just FYI, that keeps his eye healthier.
All right, then we had some questions. So bifocal lenses, Gary just answered that. John was just sharing that he takes his glasses off when he's not using his eye gaze so that he has, be able to see both. And then Eddie had a quick question of, do any of the 5 successful cases use the scleral lens as a crutch or to prop open their droopy eyelid called ptosis?
So no, at least, I don't know if Gary or maybe some of the other people who have those scleral lenses, if that assists in keeping their eye open, but I a little bit skipped over this because I didn't want to get into it, but I'll mention it because Eddie's making trouble. The scleral lenses that are made, let me just go back one step. There are 2 types of scleral lenses in this country. There are commercially available scleral lenses, and then there are medical scleral lenses. The ones that are available, like through those thousands of scleral lens providers who are optometrists, those are regular scleral lenses that will just, they go and they do the fitting. They have a box of lenses that they can try on your eye. They fit the lens, they get the prescription. It's a pretty simple process. But then there are scleral lenses that are created in some of the eye institutes and eye hospitals across the country. Those medical lenses, they are a bit more expensive. The ones that I'm referring to that I know of cost over $20,000 a lens per eye. And those lenses can be made with all sorts of features in them. Many people get them with very complex prisms in them, and some people get them made extra thick just to keep the eye open. I think some people don't have to get them made extra thick. I think the prisms themselves cause them to be extra thick so that they prop open the eye. So none of these 5 people that we're talking about got that level of medical scleral lenses, but that is something that is an option, and I actually don't think insurance covers them even when they're the medical type, but I think that's the answer in case you needed that full story there.
Susie, are you referring to what kind of tape does Carol and Gary use? Is that what you're referring to?
Close the eye. To close
Yeah.
the
Oh, to close the eye. Carol, do you want to share what kind of tape you and Gary use? What's your strategy for that?
Yeah, let me just check and make sure the name on it. I'll be right back.
Okay. So one thing, Susie, about eye taping, just to bring forward, especially as being a speech pathologist, is always making sure that your pal has a way to be able to alert you. A lot of times people use their eye gaze even at night. So making sure that you have a way, like a wireless call system, for example, that they could bump with their head or something like that, is very important to make
We never
sure.
had that, but we have one of his old belts to his pants that is hooked up to a large belt. He can still move his right ankle, so it's very loud in the middle of the night.
Well, Susie, I hope again that you're going to consider, joining us for us to look at some options, because even a little twitch on the face we can use. I see, Janelle, you said even a little twitch on the face or a little twitch with the jaw, we can actually set up a wireless call system in place for somebody. They don't even have to touch it, called proximity. So you just come close to it that can work. We definitely just don't want to tape somebody's, only form of communication. We don't want to tape them closed without ensuring that they have some way to be able to communicate with you to say that they're uncomfortable or no longer want their eyes taped.
Yeah, we don't tape both of Gary's eyes down. That way he's able to actuate on his Tobii device. Your question was on tape. We use a 3M blue tape, a 3M Microspore S tape. It's a blue tape.
Yeah, I have some of that. After
We
the cataract surgery, they gave it to me.
Okay, great. And then for Gary, Gary wears a Twitch switch, which he can use. Can you beep me? Can you beep with me? He can use it and it makes a beeping noise so that you can hear him. He can he does have use of you might see his jawline can move. So he's moving his jaw to make a beep. That's how
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
Gary mentioned my eyes are difficult to shut when I have the lenses in. So that's actually an encouraging thing. So that means hopefully there are people with a slight ptosis that will actually resolve that issue. That's a new one to me, Gary. I knew we needed to invite you. And mind you, by the way, Gary, he types up a storm every day. I don't think you can imagine the difference between before scleral lenses and after scleral lenses, what his inability to type relative to what he is able to do now. He's giving his podcasts and speaking all over the place. It is just beyond amazing. And so, listen, we needed an advocate. We found it. We had to go to Georgia, but we found it.
Tony, I see your question there, and I'm going to hold off on that for just a second, okay? Because that's a little bit deeper conversation, which I would love to have with you, but I'm going to hold off on that for just a second. So I just want to be mindful. We are at 5 after. I want to just check. Does anybody else have any specific questions about the scleral lenses? Tony, stay on with us though, because we're going to help you with that. Any other questions? Perfect. Karina just said, Carol's off-screen thumbs up is my favorite part about these trainings, which I absolutely love. All right. So I am going to, at this point, I am just going to stop for just a quick moment and tell you all thank you so much for joining our training. Has anyone used a compress to make John, I'll let you finish that statement. I want to thank you all for joining us today. I am going to stop our Zoom recording at this time. So if you are joining us on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and join us again. It was absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to have you all here today. So I'm going to stop let's see.
Thank you.